They are superior. The arrest is now being questioned because Brett used excessive force. Worse, public trust in the police is already fragile. Footage of the arrest has spread across the media, showing the officers using violence. If action is not taken, things could spiral out of control. Reluctantly, Captain Calvert suspends both of them from duty. I'm not racist. Our Mexican American isn't likely to be lenient. Brett is devastated. It feels like all their hard work means nothing. What hurts even more is that Calvert used to be his colleague. Through politics and flattery, Calvert climbed the ranks, while Brett, who clearly had better achievements, was left behind. Instead of defending him, Calvert turned his back on him. With their suspension, Brett and Anthony stopped receiving their salaries. The timing could not be worse. Brett desperately needs money. Years ago, his wife, who was also a police officer, was paralyzed in an accident. They spent a fortune on her medical care and were forced to sell their house, ending up in a rundown apartment complex. The neighborhood is rough, and their daughter is often bullied simply because of her skin color. To escape their financial nightmare, Brett's wife once considered going back to work, but doing so could make her condition even worse. This only deepens Brett's frustration with his job. After 20 years of service, he feels like it has given. That is when he begins a path he never imagined he would choose. There's a way, but it's not something that we're going to talk about. I'll handle this. That night, Brett visits one of his informants. They clearly go way back. This man is known for supplying criminals with whatever they need when they come into the city, from places to stay to vehicles and logistics. At the core of it all, Brett wants to rob a criminal who is believed to be preparing a massive transaction. After getting the information he needs, Brett asks Anthony to meet him at dawn the next day. The story then shifts to Henry, who meets Biscuit again to discuss the job that was mentioned earlier. A major robbery is about to take place, and the crew needs 2 more people. Still, Henry senses that something about this job feels off. The man hiring them, Andre, seems far too mysterious to be trusted. That feeling quickly proves to be right. Not long after, Andre is seen robbing a small convenience store while dressed like a counter-terror unit. Yes. The twist is that he is only a pawn working for a man named Vogelman. Known as a ruthless criminal mastermind, Vogelman comes from another city and is temporarily staying in an apartment arranged by the same informant Brett had contacted earlier. Anthony is furious when he learns that Brett plans to rob criminals instead of stopping them. When confronted, Brett finally opens up about his life after 2 decades on the force. Hearing the truth, Anthony begins to understand. He feels the same pressure himself. After years on the job, he still cannot bring himself to propose to his girlfriend, fearing his salary will never be enough to support a family. Suddenly, Brett's reckless plan starts to feel like their only way out. From what they know, Vogelman appears to be nothing more than a drug trafficker preparing a large shipment. The idea is simple. They wait for the deal to happen, then storm the apartment and steal the money once the drugs are sold. With no clear timeline, they are forced to monitor the place for days. Brett and Anthony keep watch, but nothing happens. It turns out Vogelman never handles preparations himself. That job belongs entirely to his subordinate, Andre. That same night, Andre strikes again by stealing a random car. I don't think so. Face the windshield. Put up that sunshade. To avoid police attention, he makes sure the victim never reports the theft. That's all I got. I swear to God. Once he secures the vehicle, he visits another associate who provides the main transport for the operation. The vehicle is heavily modified. The walls, windows, tires, and hood are all reinforced to resist bullets. A small firing window is even installed on the side, allowing gunfire from inside. I expected you. Airless. The blood is gratis? With no progress in sight, Brett and Anthony eventually head home to check on their families. Staying away too long could raise suspicion, especially since they are currently suspended from the force. By the next morning, they return to the area. This time, the apartment building looks far more active than the day before. Henry and Biscuit arrive in broad daylight. With just one glance, Brett can tell they are former convicts. What feels strange is that once they enter the building, they do not come out for a long time. It is only close to midnight that they finally emerge, this time alongside Vogelman. Without hesitation, Brett and Anthony begin following them. They are convinced the deal will happen tonight, especially after Anthony notices the two black suitcases Vogelman is carrying. Those bags most likely contain drugs. After driving around for a while, they eventually reach their destination. Brett and Anthony cannot get inside because the gate is locked. It also seems safer to wait until the transaction is over. Intervening too early could be extremely dangerous. Unfortunately, their assumption turns out to be completely wrong. Vogelman is not there to sell drugs. He is preparing for a large-scale robbery instead. Brett only realizes something is off
after waiting for hours with almost no movement. They arrived late at night, and by the time morning comes, nothing seems to happen. Just as they are about to lose hope, Henry and Biscuit suddenly reappear. To throw off the police, they switch vehicles and even wear heavy makeup. At first, Brett fails to recognize them. Luckily, Anthony quickly sees through the disguise. Without hesitation, they continue following them. But a red light splits them apart along the way. The story then shifts to a woman named Kelly, a mother of one. After giving birth, she develops a condition that makes it nearly impossible for her to be separated from her child.
Your maternity leave ended 4 weeks ago.
All these things cost money, and you make way more than I do.
You need to go to work today.
Jackson needs diapers.
Unfortunately, her maternity leave has ended, and she has no choice but to return to work. After being pushed to face her fear, Kelly finally returns to her job at a major bank. Her coworkers and supervisors try to cheer her up with a warm welcome and small gifts.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Nice to see you.
You too.
Sadly, the moment does not last long. Vogelman and his crew storm the building and begin their robbery. The criminals move carefully, making sure no one can identify them later. They wear masks and glasses, and Vogelman even uses a pre-recorded voice to give commands throughout the heist.
Keep your hands raised. Cooperate.
He orders Kelly to tie up her coworkers using ropes that were already prepared. During the chaos, Kelly notices one of her colleagues trying to secretly send an emergency alert to the police. Fearing the consequences, she tries to stop them. Tragically, the robbers mistake her actions as betrayal and execute her on the spot. Not long after, Brett and Anthony arrive near the scene. As expected, Vogelman is carrying out a large-scale robbery. The problem is that they cannot act recklessly. Someone is watching the surroundings from inside a vehicle, ready to react if anything goes wrong. If they move in now, hostages could be killed, so they are forced to observe from a distance. Minutes later, Vogelman finishes the operation. The two officers are horrified when they realize how many lives were lost.
We let those people get killed. Christ.
Anthony is overwhelmed with guilt for not acting sooner. Still, Brett reminds him that even if they had called for backup, the outcome might not have changed. The only thing they can do now is figure out where the criminals plan to run next. Meanwhile, Biscuit is clearly upset. What Vogelman is doing goes far beyond their original agreement. Because they are now seen as disobedient and potential traitors, Henry and Biscuit are ordered to stash their weapons inside the car compartment. Refusing would mean instant execution. Being treated this way pushes Henry to quietly begin planning his revenge. It turns out Vogelman has taken one of the bank employees hostage. No one knows exactly why, but during the drive, the woman suddenly says she needs to relieve herself. She is forced to do it right there, and afterward, Henry is ordered to clean up the mess. Biscuit cannot accept the way his friend is being humiliated. Still, Henry asks him to stay calm and reminds him of their childhood memories together. The two of them have known each other since their school days, and that bond is the only thing keeping them steady. At this point, Vogelman and his crew are already fleeing the city. Hours pass as they speed along the highway, and news of the robbery finally breaks across the media. Reports confirm that 7 people were killed. Hearing this, both Brett and Anthony become even more certain that they are dealing with extremely dangerous criminals. The situation is clearly heading toward a tragic end. Fearing he might not survive, Anthony decides to propose to his girlfriend that very night through a heartfelt message. About an hour later, while Vogelman and his men are distracted, Henry quietly signals Biscuit to reach for the weapon they had hidden inside the seat cushion. They both sense that once the escape ends, Vogelman will kill them. That is why they prepared a backup plan. After a long drive, they finally reach a remote area. There are no lights, no nearby houses, just an old warehouse standing alone. Henry is ordered to step out and open the gate. Deep down, he knows this is the moment Vogelmann will betray them. And he is right.
Open the right bay.
Gunfire suddenly erupts in his direction. Tragically, several bullets fired by Andre strike Biscuit in the leg. Unable to run, Biscuit makes a desperate decision and swallows the car key to ruin Vogelmann's plan. Henry rushes to help him, but the wound is too severe. With his final strength, Biscuit tells him to leave and let him die there.
Do you see the key? He swallowed it.
Get a nice television. Give something to my mom.
Take care of her good.
Henry, one of those.
Henry, the recorder, he might changes the footage to blackmail him. To keep things fair, the evidence is destroyed. But Henry refuses. From his point of view, he cannot fully trust Brett either. After all, Brett is a cop, and there is always a chance he could turn on him. No agreement in sight, Henry suddenly pulled. Brett had underestimated him and never still had a backup weapon. As he takes, Brett makes one last request that his share of the gold be sent to his wife, is to give the full amount. But Brett's family will never be again. Before Henry takes time, friend, Lisa Brett even promises himself that when things are safe, remains to a more Fast forward, Henry is now living in life. Despite his criminal past, he proves to be smart when it. The stolen gold has careful laundering, allowing it to be used without raising suspicion. At the same time, Brett's package at their home. His wife instantly knows it must. When she opens it, she finds bars. Story is trust issuing, and too many. One is definitely ending up. Someone else gets beat.
At the start of the series, out there, being inside it is named. He is a quiet biologist who chooses spending his days. Today is no different. The hammer in hand, it gets to work. Strike finds what he is looking. The moment he lets his guard down, out from between the rocks and it is venomous. Call 911, but his phone slips and falls out of reach. Thinking fast, he punctures the bite, then tries to suck out the venom. He has no idea if it works, but within moments, he starts. Ish manages to stumble back to the cabin, but he only gets worse. He drinks a ton of water, and before long is out. When Ish finally wakes, he survived. It has already started to heal. To leave, the car is covered in grime, warm overnight. Does not think much of it, so he simply. When he tries to start the car first, then finally to the city, but he does not see a single. He coming. Bides. Pulls into a super parking lot. Military vehicles, the kind that shoot on the streets. There is a dead body. Complete. The deeper, more bodies he finds, more military. Then he spots a new screen. Pandemic has world has gone in. The second Ish means he rushes his house. The neighborhood is silent. He is the only one left. Inside the house, Ish finds his father. His at once. Distance away, there's body too. Even through the decides his proper burial. Grave large enough for both all day until it is. After that, in his old room, much of anything, the Ish walks through cars abandoned into a church, more bodies, final moments, no matter how alone he is. Everything he wants from the so money needed, everything he refuses to get, he keeps thinking there might still be someone else alive. Bridge leading to the off with a barricade. Overwhelmed and frustrated.
No. Wake the
Keeps going until payment district. Hotel that is even though the lights are still. Ish goes inside, empty, and strange. There are no bodies anywhere around. He takes the to a soak in the jacuzzi. He casual bar alone. But he is wrong. Survivor woman named Ann Milton. They are not simply a pandemic hit. Explains that they one reason ever caused the output was uncut of it because of this. Never even realized the news footage unfolding across the disease fast. The vaccine could ever stop. Shares that she even will die through a video. Not, but nearly all of them. Around 99% of humanity has been wiped after taking it all in. And he ends up sleeping on the floor outside the. Ish goes looking for Milton and Ann, but they are hard to find. His search leads him into a room packed with expensive clothes where Ann is staying. Ish was like to be one of the last people alive on Earth. Explains that a beating heart someone is truly living brings Ish to hell. Cooking, food supplies, and meals, which makes it clear plan to stay. Seem have settled into this place makes there could still more out there. Explains that as long they have a few more weeks. He has no intent to survive once the supplies are gone, and be unthinkable than live that. Ish has already made up his mind to move on. As he steps outside, he hears that Milton and to keep living like this. He continues his journey alone. Along comes a dog that blocks his path. Ish decides to take the dog with a name and a place. He calls the dog Luck Stop as the city library. And lonely, son survive others meant pure. He wants empty, still running. Ish has fully his own, slowly reclaiming the world. But he refuses. One day he notices smoke rising from a being cautious he had hand. Inside he finds a rifle and another human in a very long time. Evening, and Emma allows him inside. He only moved into the house, making tea, a cup. It is the first real human interaction. Emma shares her father was a soldier, her mother a nurse. Growing up, she spent a lot of time camping and hunting, which taught her how. Ish prepares to leave, but Emma asks him to stay a little longer. Ish at a particular house. Emma explains that houses for sale usually do not have bodies. This place is large and secure with. The next day, Emma notices shelves filled with books that Ish has been reading to pass. While Emma checks the belly, cuts a rope, easily considered. At the same time, have been attacked. Together, they hit together the rat trap. The store has everything they could possibly moment. Ish thinks they might as well live there. Supermarket is. Ish has been survived, which doesn't. Who knows how to hunt? He misses the sound of birds. Become far too quiet. From that point on, she and Ish begin to survive. Hunting and fishing become. Even so, they realize this lifestyle cannot last forever. With Emma's help, they start growing. Ish even builds a chicken coop. Despite not owning a single chicken, he believes that if the coop is, will come eventually. As the world feels like to the two of them naturally deepens. They are on death. Instead, they're concerned in life, electricity, food for the future. Preparing to discovers from a neighbor's vehicle to that. After spending so much time together, a new reality sets in. Emma is pregnant. Ish's first house without a hospital or also worried his child. Him that Ish goes books about. He wants to be a he Emma in the bay planning for what life around is finally on by the coop in the. As months pass, Emma reaches the final stage of her pregnancy and meals have considered the garden chickens. Decides to fulfill armed with cattle farm the pandemic humans hunting and uncertain, but fails to kill it with. He has to fire again. That turns out to be the easy. The hardest task is cutting the meat. Ish has read guides on how to do it, but reading and actually do experiences. Covered in blood and fighting his own disgust, Ish pushes through for the sake of one cow is enough to last them a long time, as long as they have refrigeration. Ish manages to get just in time. The refrigerator shows Ish a rat. It is enormous of a shoebox. It is clear that's far more thought. That smell of fresh beef draws countless rats toward their house. Emma and back against of them. Ish grabs a large chunk of meat and burns it. That's away. Too many, so the rats keep trying to break at anything they can. It becomes a long, exhausting night spent hiding from the swarm, but somehow they make it through. As the rat down here and closer their way. Before long lives, it give birth to all his. Ish is able to, and a baby girl is name her Heather. Having a child with purpose live leaves written, explain, inviting any place called to the 6th year. Ish is accidentally hits when he checks he lion. The animal badly hurt, not wanting it to suffer. Ish prepares. At that moment, he notices movement. It has been so long since that Ish immediately follows. Catches up to a young. Ish tries to with him, but she is too afraid. Force her and tells himself, "Come along if she." When Ish returns to his mountain lion, just as he promised, he waits. Not curiosity gets the better of her. Ish vehicle and offers. Evie agrees to come with him to sit in the. Back to San Lupo. Heather has a young. Emma is immediately have taken. Speak, and it is covered in wounds. The house, it becomes clear that Emma is alone. But community has grown. Hay has joined them, along with his wife, Maureen. They talk about Evie. It must be for a child to survive alone. That struggle may explain why Evie refuses to speak. Evie remains defensive toward Ish and the others, heading down from the back of the vehicle. The next day, Evie still refuses to go inside the house. The car, choosing the open air over the safety of a room. Maureen approaches Evie to bring her. Evie reacts defensively and grabs Maureen's. When Maureen notices the cigarette burn marks covering, in that moment she realizes Evie's use. Trying to, Maureen shows her pain. She allows her, a quiet way of proving that she means no harm and wants to protect her. Maureen shares that she also arrived in San Lupo as a stranger once. Jorge walked and come across old messages. Cybers to San Maureen, letting her baby ask for. After everything she pandemic, Evie carries deep trauma that shapes her. Meanwhile, Ish the forest. They want alone or with her parents. In the woods, they cabin. Ish finds scattered across the floor. Terrible once happened there. Beyond that, back in San Lupo, Maureen careful inside filled with drawings, the kind made by a child carrying heavy emotion. She also finds a folded piece of. Soon after, Evie finishes bathing and is given clean clothes, shown to a room where she can finally rest in peace. Later, Maureen gathers with Ish and Emma. Letter she found in Evie's bag. It was written by Evie's mother, whoever might. In it, she father repeated. The pain became so severe. Speaking altogether, struck Evie's, leaving her complete. After they all agree on Lupo, and Emma gives birth to her a baby. More time in the story moved after the pandemic. Bell rings never happened before. Sound immediately edge. Ish head into the fort where the bell came. Fear it could be Evie's family coming to take her back. Emma raises her spots. Here, another woman appears, and she also has a rifle. Ish steps forward and not long will step forward. Only one shooting a child. No one intends the weapon. Standing a married couple named Ezra and Jean. A young son who is the same age as Ish remains extremely cautiously allowed to enter. Morin wonders if they, but it could not even know. Just like Morin found San Lupo by Falma left behind years. It also wants to fairly. Emma wants them, but Ish at all. Him that he once doubted Moran and Jorge too, and the kind in it. Ish private, a former Piana singer, though there is no real proof. Emma believes they can be useful since Molly is a doctor, so thinks Heather would benefit her own age. She takes all the adults on a supply run. Their food and detergents to look for medicine. It's that pharmacy, and they time. Their path is blocked, forcing them groups, and Ezra and managed to is still safe to eat alone, even with Molly. Instead, and heads to a hospital, ignoring Ish's. After some time, the scavenging ends. Regroup and gives it to Jean, knowing one person. Molly has not returned and is there. She discovers a room filled with Molly carrying a large. Ish is angry, but knew the